Okay. I just realized I don't know why the game crashed. Why is the audio not working? As you can tell, this is an exceptionally well put together game. To be fair, I'm probably partially the one to blame for this, seeing as I've put 35 hours into this game. But you know what? You can play a game that's kind of janky and have fun with it. So I guess here we are. Okay, so this is Unicorn Tales. About a month ago, Has it really been a month? Ugh. Like 2 weeks ago or something like that. I uploaded an example of an 80% run for this game, and to be honest, it's out of date, and I want to update it because I think the run's pretty cool, and I think with some proper attention, this game could be a pretty, could have a bit of a fun following to it. It's a pretty simple run, but it has some cool tricks to it, which means it could be a cool entry point and all that. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe easy speezy will run it someday. That could be cool. Maybe. I think he might like it. I don't know. I don't know the dude that well. In fact, I don't really know him at all because I just know his videos. But either way, today we're gonna be going in depth into all of the tricks and skips that are done throughout the run. Just kind of go over them. I'm probably just gonna leave this uncut. Just to actually, maybe I'll edit it. I don't know. Depends on how this turns out. Who knows? Maybe we'll try an edited version at some point. I don't know. This is probably not even going to be in the recording, so who knows? But either way, new game. We'll start a new game. Now, a couple of things you should know right off the bat. Your timer starts once you hit this done button right here. So you can customize your name or any of these options here, however much you want beforehand. Also note, this music is exceptionally loud. At least it is in my ears, so I'm going to turn it down. I apologize if this is a little bad for the ears, but I have my mixer volume for the audio down low, so it shouldn't be that bad. The basic gist, whenever you want to reset a run, you do have to exit the game. There is no quit to menu, sadly, for this game, so just be aware of that when doing resets. Though I guess you learned that pretty early on, but I feel it should be mentioned. Really, it's not super reset heavy. There are a couple of tricks that if you don't land, do cost a good bit of time. So, and we'll cover those as they come up. We'll basically just start with the base mechanics. I'm going to be doing one skip right at the beginning just to demonstrate it, so you can call back to it later. But at least for right now, I'll probably just be running around and kind of talking through and showing off the base mechanics of what we got. So right now, we'll just leave this as is, because I don't want to give you an eyesore like this. Just amazing, So we'll just put it back to light, And then we'll hit done. Now, the loading screen's gonna go. It takes about 10 seconds, a bit more. You can hold space to preload the skip cutscene. It'll automatically skip as fast as it can once it loads in. Now I'm gonna hit escape twice to give myself control. I'm gonna go to the magic menu, close it. I'm gonna change my dash to 4. Now I will be running at this point to avoid tricks me right here. Since we broke out of the cutscene by hitting escape twice, it basically means we have free movement when we shouldn't be able to. And Trixme is now going to be following us around for the entirety of the run until they catch us, or until something forces them not to be chasing us, which is a fun little bit. Fun little fact about this, Trixme, while slow, cannot be stopped by anything, as they will just phase through buildings. Now, while they're slowly approaching me, I'll just kind of talk through how it works. There they are. Now they'll basically just be following you around. This, more often than not, you'll be going faster if you don't have to worry about it, but if you do fall behind, Trixme can become an issue. If they do catch you, it's about a 10 second, not 10 seconds, somewhere between 5 and 10 second time loss. We're just going to talk to them and get it over with. A lot of the dialogue, you can just spam space, E or click to go, or left click to go through. Usually just space is the fastest one. E can work, and left click can be used for single going. For some dialogue, it's not as precise, so you also just spam the space bar. Long story short, the main gist of the run is it comes down to 3 parts. The first part is collecting these crystals here. You're going to collect 2, you collect 2 points, but you make the game think you got 6. Well, again, we'll get to that in a minute. Then there are aspects in a portal at that pink star right there. You won't be able to see that during the run because that triggers after talking to Trixme, so in an optimal sense, that wouldn't be applicable. So you'll just have to kind of learn the layout of the island. But luckily, most of the running is coming from here to the island, to the castle off in the distance over there, as well as to 2 other points in different areas of the map. Now, as far as movement, you got your basic WASD. Use your mouse to move around, to move your perspective, and your unicorn does change to face it, luckily, since it's not taking controls. If you hold shift, you have a run. There is no stamina, it's just an increased movement, so you're almost always wanting to hold shift. Now, you also have your dash, your blink dash, which is by far the fastest form of movement in the entire game. You hit activate these by pressing the coordinated number key. I like to have it on 4 because it means I can press it with my pointer finger rather than what would be my ring finger. You can put it on any slot. The reason we put it on 4 is for something we'll get into a bit later around getting a new ability called Pegasus, which basically allows us to fly. Outside of that, the only things you need to know is to interact with NPCs. You just need to be facing them within a certain range and press E, and you'll talk to them. And my phone went off, but we're going to ignore that. Oh, it's easy speasy. Oh, I'll have to check it out after this stream. Okay, notes all I like this stuff. Either way, long story short, the blink dash can serve a number. Oh, you can also jump. That's kind of an important thing. Probably want to mention that. Let's see, what else is there? With the blink dash, it serves a number of purposes. One, it's just a nice dash you get every couple of seconds. It also can serve as a jump, as the way that it works is it will dash you in the direction that your camera is facing. So let's say I turn the camera like this, and I dash, it'll instantly turn around and go that way. This happens if you don't put any inputs in, but it's not really applicable. Your hitbox is still exactly the same, so it's just more of a fun little change and all that. Additionally, you can use it to cover if it also is actually pretty, you can control it fairly easily. Let's say I want to talk to this pink unicorn right here, but this is obviously a little too close. I dash past it. Well, them, I guess. If you aim at the ground, your dash will be a shorter distance, but it'll still be faster, meaning you can time it out and actually use it to run into them. So, let's see if I can demonstrate this. That was a bit off, but you kind of get the gist. You basically run into them, and it slows you down enough that you're able to interact with them and, you know, still save that dash. A lot of the optimization in terms of movement comes down to dashing at the right time, which is usually pretty simple, but it's, you know, it is what it is. On to the actual pathing itself. As like I said before, the first section involves gathering these purple crystals here. There is one trick involved in this. It's called Multigrab. That's what I call it. Obviously, none of these are actually names, so just whatever crappy names I come up with, so take that with a grain of salt. The way Multigrab works is the way that you interact with any item in this game that you grab like this with an interaction is you can actually interact with them more than once. Basically, once you hit E, it will collect it and it'll start an animation where it disappears, but there is a short window in which the item is still there and it's still interactable, so you can actually grab it more than once. So if you spam E and walk towards it, as you're walking past, you'll collect the crystal. And we should only have 1, but because it's multi-grab, you notice we have 4. Over the course of 2 grabs, you want to get 3 on average. Having 4 is nice, but not needed. As far as I can tell, 4 is the max. I think I've gone 5 once, but obviously it's a bit inconsistent. It's heavily dependent on how fast you press. So getting good at hitting 3 is what you want to do. Now, once you get to that, I should have mentioned, once you get that crystal over here, you make a sharp left through those 2 buildings, or this one over here if you wanted to, and you're going to head towards this bridge. Now, you want to aim towards the bottom of the slope there on the end, because what we're going to be doing is going to be using our jump. Oh, also, one thing you should also note, I forgot to mention this. If you dash into the air
and you can press jump afterwards because you still have a jump. So basically, if you follow something, you can jump as well. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to use our dash to move around, and we're going to try and use our dash to gain enough height to clip onto the corner there and land on the bridge, making it a straight shot. Now the second crystal is right here. We're going to do the same thing. I like to angle my mouse and the camera slightly down to make sure that we can actually interact with it. You want to be careful not to interact with this dude, or else you have to spam through his dialogue, and that's annoying. So you basically just do the same as before. Walk up, spam E, and do that. Now, because I'm using my mouse to move, I do have to move my hand, so I usually like to line up my unicorn with the crystal beforehand, and then just kind of spam E as I'm walking towards it. Obviously, it means you can't really dash, because dashing and collecting, as far as I can tell, is a bit inconsistent and doesn't work. Now, what we're going to do, now that we have all the items we need, see we got 7, we're going to be heading towards there. We're going to talk to a unicorn named Bersha, black and pink in color. You'll know when you see them. There's a big exclamation above their head, even if you haven't completed the dialogue yet. We basically just run straight towards this castle, and we start going like that. Now, the main thing I'm going to show here is the one of the core mechanics. Obviously, you can use your dash and your jump to jump over walls instead of having to go through doors, because doors are optional in this game. And as I mentioned before, you can dash into objects to get up to them immediately. So this corner here is your friend, because you can dash into it and be in dialogue with Bersha. Now, for demonstration purposes, I'm not going to spam through dialogue as quickly because we want to show rest mechanic. Now, one thing we figured out is there's a button, actually, let me just spam through this. I'm just going to demonstrate this because this is a funny animation. Basically, the main gist of... Now, the main mechanic that you have, there's a mechanic that they added that's supposed to be cosmetic, but actually is exceptionally broken. It's your sleep mechanic. If you hit R, you go to sleep. You basically enter in this idle animation, you can't move, and it plays a sleeping sound, which you probably won't be able to hear, but in run you'll definitely hear it. If you hit R again, you wake up. Now, what this allows you to do, the way it's programmed, is it disables your controls when you're in rest. But what it does is it re-enables your controls once you wake up, which means it can actually be used to break out of other movement locks, such as when you're talking to people. So if we talk to Bersha, and we hit R, we'll go to sleep right here. Now you wait a second, you hit R again, and you can see we can move around normally. You know, like you do. You're still interacting with the dialogue, so you have to be careful. And hitting space to press dialogue also makes you jump. Now, a natural progression of this is if you hit I... Sorry, I don't know why I hit that. If you hit I... It's not working right now. Well, basically what happens if you hit... let's do this correctly. Sometimes a bit janky. We hit rest, like that. Then we hit I... And we hit I again, and we have regained control, and we can hold down space. Now, if you're holding down a letter? Why did I say letter? If you hold down a button when you're pressing through dialogue, it won't activate, so you don't have to worry about going and accidentally moving your dialogue choice, which is really nice. So you can basically just move around normally as long as it isn't pressing W, which again, that'll come into play later. Now what we're going to do is, now that we've talked to Bersha, we'll just make the dialogue, and we're going to tell them we have all the crystal fragments. Now we technically have 7 fragments, but we haven't collected all the points, which means the game is going to be in a broken load state, meaning every time the game loads, we're going to have to go through that dialogue over again, which takes about 15 seconds each. Now what we basically told them is, hey, we have all the crystals, and they're going to build a portal. And they basically tell us to go explore. And by explore, what it means is we're going to pass by this little wall right here, and then turn around, and there's the portal right there. Now you usually do 2 dashes to get there. You want to aim for this corner here, and there is a cutscene trigger that triggers when you get within proximity of this portal on the platform. Now this is where we're going to demonstrate one of the issues with the rest mechanic, and that is what happens when you trigger cutscenes while in the jumping animation. Basically, the game locks and it says, "Hey, you're jumping," and it does this animation, which you cannot rest while doing this. Meaning you cannot break out of dialogue if you're acting like that. which is not very good. Jump and fix it. Now, the next section of the run, this is where we start using the portals, which is fairly simple. To go through the portal, just walk through. It's pretty simple. And what we're going to do is we're going to go talk to this little rabbit poster right here. And we're going to use that rest mechanic we mentioned earlier to basically, while we're maneuvering in the dial, while we're going through the dial, we're going to maneuver ourselves as close to this portal without going through it as possible. It's very important that you do not go through the portal, because if you do, the dialogue chain won't go properly, and basically what'll happen is when you go back into this area, it'll soft lock, because it thinks that you still need to talk to the rabbit, and it also does some other things. It's tricky. Basically, just go to the dialogue, do the rest, open and close the menu, and then go through the dialogue. Basically, once you get close enough, you can just kind of spam jump and do that, and then you can dash into the portal to finish that section. Now, there is a variation on, I will also note, now that we've exited the portal, the game has reloaded back to the previous save, meaning that the portal is now gone. If we hadn't talked to Trixie would be here, and he would start chasing you again. Also, your camera will act a little bit funky. It doesn't restrict your movement, but it's more just, it's playing the loading into the world animation from before, and it goes away after a couple of seconds. It just makes your camera act a bit funky. Now, there is a variation on the rest. What the? Why can't I rest? That's weird. Let me try it. I can't rest. That's awkward. Let's see if we can't fix this. Wait, does it think we're constantly running? What the freak? I've never seen this before. Oh, that was loud. I'm sorry, neighbors. Seems to think we're constantly moving. There we go. Basically, there is a variation on the rest, which is technically faster, but it does come with a pretty severe downside if you hit rest. At any point, you can hit E, and you'll reawaken, but you'll notice our dash is, we can't use our magic, and in a speedrun, not being able to dash is not good. If this does happen, the only way to get out of it is to complete a rest normally, at which point you can dash normally. Now, back to the actual run itself. Now that we've completed that section, we just run all the way back to Bersha, and we're going to start running the dialogue tree again. I'm going to be brushing through a little bit because it's pretty much the same over and over again. The only thing that's different is that Bersha is now here to represent that we've completed their quest chain, but the world is not loaded properly. It's slightly corrupted, and the portal isn't there. So the way to fix that is you just talk to Bersha. You go through the dialogue again. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, why don't you just collect all the crystals? Well, going to get all the crystals requires moving around the entire island, and in timing it, it does seem to be slightly faster to just spam through the dialogue 3 separate times, which is hilarious. Now, you have to spawn in the portal before you talk to Bersha again to complete the dialogue chain, or else it won't work. So you basically go and say, I've explored the void on the far side of the portal. And then they're like, what? You did? And then this is where you're going to use the rest mechanic again. We're going to do the same thing we did for the Estranged Rabbit. Break open, we're going to maneuver ourselves as close to the portal as possible. Now, you cannot dash into here because this portal is weird. So you just move into it normally. Now, what happened in that dialogue chain is Bersha tells us we need to collect samples. What you need are 2 crystals, which you get by collecting, oops, I meant to hit dash, is collecting here. You can use the multigrab again. As you can see, whenever you do a multigrab correctly, you'll notice that the pop-up shows up multiple times. You basically do that, you get these, you get the crystals there, come here, grab the tree, and then you dash down here to get the rocks. Now, it may be slightly faster to do it a different way, but I have yet to fully lab it out. Now, I'm not going to get close to that because once we enter, there is now a cutscene trigger. Now that we've collected enough materials, I'm just going to make sure to get a second one here. The main thing you want is you want 2 of the void crystals, 2 of the void rock, and 1 void growth, and then it'll put a cutscene trigger right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get relatively close, about here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the air and dash into the cutscene. By dashing into the load zone, it maintains our movement. I don't know why it's specific to this one only, as far as I can tell. So it's a little bit strange, but you know, it is what it is. And basically we're going to be starting into a boss fight. The main gist of how this boss fight is going to work is, since we have free movement, we'll open up, you'll use I, you know, the menu, to regain movement, and we're going to position ourselves directly behind them. After the cutscene finishes playing, we will get teleported, but we'll still have movement. We'll just span through a bit of dialogue, and we're going to go right behind the boss for one of the most intricate boss fights you've ever seen. As you see, we can still move around, hit I twice to maneuver, and the cutscene continues playing while we have movement. Now we're going to want to position ourselves right about here, roughly. When we get teleported again, you can just run back over. Now you want to try and get the shot in as quickly as possible to ensure that they don't get any hits in, because if they start hitting you, it gets tricky. Just spam through the dialogue until you get to Unifer right there, and then just use the triangle and just start spamming. And if you do it correctly like this, you'll find that they are stun locked. Now once the boss screams out, it's going to be very loud, like that. Portal's going to re-show up right there. You want to go into it as fast as possible. If you are too slow, it'll start a cutscene, which is 30 seconds long, and is a complete time loss. Now yet again, we're just going to dash our way back to Bersha. Having defeated Tizan and gathered the materials, we're going to need to go through the dialogue chain again. Luckily, we don't need to do any of the other dialogue we already had besides the introduction part, which is sadly the longest, and the one about spawning in the portal. We dash over here, and we talk to Bersha. Trixie said, you got that. Talk through it. Pretty simple stuff. Talk to them again. Say, here are the crystal fragments. And then we dash over here. Now, normally the sound would be much louder, but I have decided to turn it down for this so I can talk and hear myself. Talk to them again, and we're going to say, here are the void samples. Luckily, that's the last time we have to worry about doing the dialogue again. While we're going through dialogue, we're going to rest again to give us a little bit of a head start in moving towards the next section. We're basically going to dash in this direction. We are heading towards an excavation site right over there. As you can see, there is a path that goes along the hills that you can use if you're a bit lost. This leads this doesn't lead directly there. I should think it does. It leads to the camp, and we're basically going to see if we did it correctly. There's these rocks here. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to go to each of these 12 rocks, and they're basic level riddles. The answers are not randomized in terms of location, so as long as you know what they are, it's pretty simple. I would go over what they are, but they're all basic riddles for, you know, not kindergartners, but very simple riddles. I almost hit the wrong one. If you hit the wrong one, it's just a matter of you get knocked back and then you have to do it again. It's mostly just embarrassing. Good thoughts, all of them. Every time you finish one, you get a little thing here. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to break out of a cutscene using the glitch we used before. Basically, we're going to talk here. We can start the rest right now. We'll hit a map, and then once it fades to black, we hit R, open the menu, and now we can move during this cutscene. The cutscene's going to try and maneuver our camera because of the nature of the camera itself. What we're going to do is we're going to just dash. We don't give a crap about the plot, and we're going to head straight towards Bersha. Now, as you can see, right here, the Pegasus gets written over slot 1. And that is why, all the way back in the beginning, we wanted to put our dash somewhere else, because that means we don't have to do menuing later. Now, it isn't technically a time save. If you wanted to really wear down the seconds, you could do it during a dialogue. Just break out, regain control, maybe while talking to Bersha, and then just set it during that dialogue, but then you have to use 1 for dash. So I mainly just do it when I break out in the opening bit, because it's fun. Now that we have our flight, the flight is pretty simple. It's your basic level. It's a pretty simple flight. You'll basically fly in the direction that you go. If you want to gain height quickly, though, you have to hold space, or you can aim and that sort of thing. If you hit 1 again while midair, it'll disable and you'll fall. But what that does mean is if your wings are refreshed, what you can basically do is break your wings and then dash in that direction. But you'll still have to deal with the recoil. Now, the one thing that's tricky with the flight is that in order to take off, you have to hit space in order to take off. This is going to come into play later when we do probably the biggest skip in the entire game. I'd call it Fashion Warp. We'll get to that when we get there. We're actually pretty close to it. But for right now, all you really need to know is that that's basically all you should need to know. Just flying around with it for a bit, you can get used to the controls. It's pretty simple. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to talk to Bearshot. The dialogue automatically goes to what we need to, so there's no menuing here. Just spamming space. You can do the rest again. It doesn't save a ton of time, but it'll basically give you a couple of inches of maneuvering, unless you're bad like I am. And then you're basically going to go like this. What you want to do is you want to maneuver. You're going to follow these sharp hills right here. And you're going to look for a cave entrance with a horseshoe at the top of it. Obviously, I'm not going the exact fastest Matt. There it is right there. We're going to go into this cave right here, and I'm not going to go in quite yet because this next skip is probably the most complicated. We're going to go into here, and we got this guy right here. To progress the story, we're going to be talking to this guy right here, but we're not going to do that quite yet because I need to explain the way that Fashion Warp works. Now, if you look in your menu, you notice you have a fashion button. The basic is what happens if you click on it. It brings down here. You can use this to swap out hats if you have any, but obviously in Speedrun you're not buying any hats. But this actually has a secret second usage that is most definitely not dev intended. We're going to hit done for right now, but basically what happens is whenever you enter into the fashion menu, it saves your location. So we're here right now. It'll save your location, and whenever you hit done, it'll warp you back there. Pretty simple stuff. Because what you'll notice is if you're in the fashion menu, you'll notice this is actually your character. So being able to maneuver around seems a little bit strange, but when you still hit done, it still teleports you back here. Now, what we figured out is that if you can somehow move during the cutscene, if you can somehow set your position somewhere else and regain movement while in that menu, you can basically use that to save your position to where you opened that menu. And basically what we're going to do is during the cutscene, we're going to set a position here inside of this cave. And what it's going to do is it's going to go through the cutscene. It's going to teleport us all the way to like right here. And we're going to have to fly all the way back over there. But once we do the thing we need to do over there, we need to come back all the way here to go into a portal that's going to spawn up here. And basically what we can do with this fashion warp is, at the cost of having about half your screen covered up by a menu for the entire time, is we can instantly teleport back and basically save about 20 seconds. Now, we're going to do this. This is going to be a bit quick, but the basic gist of what you need to know is you're going to talk to them. You're going to spam through the dialogue. You do not want to rest here. You're going to rest now. Then what you're going to do is get rest again. You're going to open up your menu, do not move, and you're going to hit fashion. Now, if it starts moving you around like this is what it should look like. Because basically the camera is still controlled, and once it's done with this cutscene, the menu should still be here. It's going to load for a split second, and it's going to move us, and we're going to regain our movement. And voila. Now we're going to be heading towards that pink spire right there. You're going to have your mouse on screen, which is a little bit annoying. Which this can make it a little bit difficult to navigate. It does get easier with time. The basis of how I do it is I try and line up the pink pillar roughly around the middle of the screen. As you can see, it's kind of there in the middle top right above the menu. Now we're going to be flying over to Trixamy. Well, dashing, because dashing is by far the fastest maneuverability in the entire game. We're going to talk to Trixamy. Basically going to go through all the dialogue. Once you get past here, once you get the 3 options, you want to select the last one. And then what you're going to need to do is you're going to go around and destroy these orbs. Now you may be thinking, why don't we destroy it before? That's because they're invincible. They can only be destroyed after the dialogue. Now, I'm going to leave this last one for a second because we have to do something very specific. If you can listen right now, it's a bit quiet, but you can hear this thing going up. Once that sound stops, that's when their dialogue chain has progressed and you can move on. You're going to basically, what you're going to need to do is you want to hit escape. Once you hit that last one, you're going to position yourself here, hit escape, maneuver your mouse here, hit that, and you'll hit E to interact, and then as soon as you can, you're gonna E to interact, hit left click to close the menu, and hold down space. Now holding down space is important because we're gonna need that in order to take off without progressing the dialogue. Now I'm gonna do this pretty quick, so we're just gonna do it. We're gonna shoot here, you're gonna position yourself here, hit escape, like that, and bada boom, we're back here. Now the exit is behind you. You just fly out this way, and as you can see, there's the giant portal. Now this is also pretty precise. If you mess this up, it's about a 50-second time loss. That's not even a joke. And what you want to see is, if you can look really close, you can see there's a little sphere here. This is where the cutscene, this is where the load zone is going to be. You want to position yourself a bit in front of it. You can let go of space once you take off, but if you want to gain height, you want to hold space. Once you hit space again or progress the dialogue, you're going to lose all control, and you can't stop it under any circumstances. Like you're basically locked to fly. Because basically what happens here is, what's supposed to happen is, as soon as you talk to Trixie and trigger this dialogue, what's going to happen is it's going to freeze your controls. It's going to set you on a locked path. Now the game has it programmed in place to try and stop you from not doing it, because it's a very cinematic scene and all that. And basically what'll happen is, if you're in the wrong spot, what it'll do is it'll lock your controls, fly you back to the starting position of the scripted event, and then it'll start doing it. Meaning, not only do you fly all the way back if you miss, and trust me, it's really easy to miss, then you'll fly all the way back in a circular formation, and it hurts if you miss it. It's physically painful. Now we're just gonna progress the dialogue, and we're gonna hope we hit it. Yep, and if you freeze there, that means you hit it. Now for the final boss. The final boss is pretty simple. There are these blue beams, and you basically shoot them all. I like, the farthest one is that one in the back. As long as you hit each one, you're fine. All of them are accessible from the starting point.
What are you doing?
And if you hit all of them,
You can't be this powerful.
and you'll finish the cut. That's the entire boss fight.
Impossible. I waited until
Now what you're gonna do
time to
is, now it's gonna play about a 20-second cutscene, well, series of cutscenes. Once you regain control after the second load, well, after the loading screens, you're gonna hit shift and press forward, and you want to talk to Bersha. As per usual with this run, we're going to avoid talking to Trixie at all costs, because Trixie's a punk, and we're gonna talk straight to Bersha, meaning we can skip Trixie's dialogue that's supposed to play first, saving us about 5 seconds. And then once we finish talking to Bersha, I'm just gonna let it load. It'll load for about 5 seconds, roughly, or is it closer to 3? You're gonna run forward, talk to Bersha, just spam through the dialogue, just spam space as fast as you can. And then once this pops up here, time's done. And you hit stop as soon as this pops up. And you've just completed a 90% run of Unicorn Tales. Pretty. And that's the run. There's a surprising amount to it for a game that is intended for 5-year-olds. But I mean, as much as my community and some of my friends make fun of this game and or utterly despise it, honestly, it's a very relaxing game to speedrun. In total, I currently hold world record, and it's like less than 10 minutes. It's a 9:11 on current patch. Well, not current patch. My current time is a 9-minute 11-second run. Oh yeah, just ignore that. There's a lot of passion in this game, and it's really fun. I mean, if you look at Steam, you can see a lot of positive reviews from kids who played this game, and I wholeheartedly support what Ravensoft has been doing. Ravensoft, is that the name? I feel really dumb that I can't remember the name. I'm pretty sure it's Ravensoft. The developers of this game put a lot of heart into this. They developed it for the kids. It's fully voice acted. I mean, I just love this game. It's so sweet. And it's honestly a really fun, just kind of chill run to do, unless you're going for world record, in which case it's stressful. But I mean, it's only me running this game right now, so the stress is self-imposed, I guess. But long story short, I'm probably not going to keep this part in. Who knows, maybe I will. That's how it goes, basically. This is really the only one I do. Glitchless, I don't need to talk about that. This is an 90% guide. I'm getting distracted. Like, comment, and subscribe. Or don't.